liberal, blue, Democrat-run cities that were once self-proclaimed sanctuary cities, yeah, they're kind of like, not in my backyard anymore. Yeah, we don't want it. And we virtue signaled earlier that we did. But yeah, the budget and resources, we just don't have it. They're looking for ways to get rid of all the buses being sent to them by the red southern border states. Let's get into it. What are they doing? Here we go. I love the title on this one. Chicago turns its back on migrant buses. Yeah, Chicago and a lot of other entities out there, right? A lot of other cities are like, oh man, we don't have the money for this. What happened? By sanctuary city, we meant in theory only, because there's no more room at the inn. Chicago and other large cities are looking for ways to stop new migrants from taking up residence. So really not very sanctuary city-like, are they? No. Because they've figured out, oh yeah, all that virtue signaling, that didn't get us that far because it ain't going to pay the bills. Weird. It's kind of like what the southern border states have been saying for years. Hey, we've been overrun. It's a catastrophe. It's a disaster. Well, literally, Greg Abbott from Texas, governor of Texas, has sent 85,000 people in the last year. Not really that many compared to the aggregate number that have come across the southern border at 6-7 million over the last few years, right? I mean, 84,000 is not a huge number, but when they're put into a system that's already, not able to really help its own, like Chicago, like New York City, like Denver, they've all got massive homeless issues and drug issues. And they're just run, they're blue run cities being run into the ground. Let's be honest. Portland, if Portland could take on thousands, they would in their own stupidity from the standpoint of, bring them to us. I mean, Portland and Seattle, we've got a bunch of them here. It's like, okay, but you can't take on. And the only reason Portland and Seattle don't get a ton more is we're just so far away, right? And we don't have the communities here to take on. The illegal immigrants aren't comfortable coming here necessarily because they know in Denver and in Chicago and in New York City, they've got support systems built in there. They can go there. All right, somebody's going to help us get a job, figure out, where do we get our groceries? Where do we get housing? All of that good stuff. That's already been built up. Portland, if Portland could take 1 million on, they would, just because that's Portland. Seattle, same thing. Although Seattle, man, yesterday we had a 9-0 vote in our city council to elect Sarah Nelson, one of the owners of Fremont Brewing. She's a reasonable human being. We got crazy stuff going on in Seattle. What's happening? I mean, we've got moderates taking over. Can you believe that? Yeah. Anyway, back to Portland. If Portland could take on 1 million, they would. And because that's just what a liberal city like Portland does, right? Yeah, bring us your poor, bring us your weak, bring us until it doesn't work out with the budget. And they already can't fix their own homeless issue, which is probably some of the worst in the United States. It's just this stuff. In response to Texas Governor Greg Abbott's unconventional approach to immigration issue, unconventional, I say he's handling it like a champ, which involves busing migrants to northern regions, suburban communities near Chicago and New York City. They're voicing their concerns. There's that concern word, right? About the strain it puts on their resources in infrastructure. The exact same damn thing we've been talking about the southern border states having to just bend over and take it for years because there's no real policy. The protest-driven act began last year when Governor Abbott, upset with the federal government stance on illegal immigration, initiated the transportation of migrants to various northern locations. Hey, you're a sanctuary city? You want these folks? We don't have the resources to take care of them. Let's spread the love. Here you go. Busload after busload after busload. Now they're sending buses to like the next stop away from where they're officially supposed to be let off. So if it's Chicago, they're going to go to somewhere close. If it's New York City, they're going to go to New Jersey. Hey, get off in New Jersey and then, figure out a train into New York City. because these Democrat-run, sanctuary cities that are just virtue signaling left and right, they've gotten to the point where, okay, you can only bring them between 8:30 and noon, Monday through Friday, and you got to bring them here and there, not there, but here, not there. And so, that's just not realistic. And so they're trying to control the influx. Meanwhile, there's no controlling the influx at the southern border. So it's just this total dual hypocrisy type situation. That's just, it's maddening for me, because I just sit here and go, this is ridiculous. I'm glad Greg Abbott is kind of doing his thing. In December, the illegal immigration crisis reached a record-breaking point with over 302,000 illegal encounters at the U.S. southern border in a single month. In a month. This surge in arrivals is adding immense pressure to communities receiving migrants from the southern border. Imagine that, right? Shocking, right? You got to pay for them. You got to pay for all that stuff. Just that human beings. How did you think this was going to go? How did you think this was going to work out? Mayor Reed Guscoria of Trenton, New Jersey, he expressed empathy for those seeking asylum. Very empathetic. I really identify with you, but he stressed the capacity constraints of his city in handling the influx. Sounds an awful lot of what the red states and the red cities have been saying for years. Weird. Yeah. Strange, right? Meanwhile, Mayor Sam Joshi of Edison, New Jersey, took a more assertive approach, announcing via social media his decision to send illegal immigrants back to the southern Texas-Mexican border. That's not very sanctuary city-like of you. That's not very love your fellow human being. What do you got going on there? How's that work? Send them back. Somebody yesterday, it was a Republican, said, wish we could just send them on a plane back to their country of origin. And you're like, all right, how many plane flights do you want to be sending out? Because they're coming from all over, not just Venezuela, right? In Grundy County, Illinois, highway signs are conveying a clear message to bus drivers approaching suburban areas around Chicago. No migrant buses this exit. That is not very sanctuary city-like of you. No migrants here, over there. Yes, here. No, not so much. They're trying to control an uncontrollable situation, right? That's what they're doing. And they're not doing a very good job at it. And because they are Democrats, they're just like, what do we do? All right, put up some signs. We'll just hope this works out. Hey, you're sending too many folks our way. Yeah, but you were the sanctuary cities requesting this. So, spreading that love around. Rural communities in the vicinity are struggling to provide necessary care for migrants who arrive unexpectedly, often at odd hours and without sufficient supplies. They have been walking for hundreds, if not hundreds of miles to get there, right? And so without sufficient, yeah. And they might not have the right clothes. Yeah. And they probably don't have any money. Yeah. They've probably been robbed along the way. If they were robbed, that's probably the best scenario that they could have hoped for. I mean, that's what's going on out there. And so this whole notion of, yeah, but the rural communities in our sanctuary cities, our blue Democrat run sanctuary cities, they don't have the necessary ability to care for all these people. Weird how that works, right? Sheriff Ken Briley of Grundy County highlighted the challenges faced by rural communities, emphasizing their limited tax base compared to urban counterparts like Chicago. Do you mean like the rural areas overrun along the southern border? You mean like those communities that have been overrun, with the 6-7 million people that have come through? You mean like them? Similar to them? They don't have the resources that, say, an Austin, Texas has, or a Tucson, Arizona has, or a Phoenix, Arizona has. You're telling me that Lukeville, down on the border, where they're just reopening up that border crossing, reopening up 4 border crossings today, legal ones. It's like, okay, why did you close those down in the first? Because that's not where all these folks are crossing. Yeah, but anyway, I'll reopen them up. The disparities in resources hinder these communities from adequately supporting the arriving migrants. Yeah, disparity in resources. Yeah, That's literally what the border states have been saying for years. But now it's putting all this emphasis on other states, and they're like, oh, hey, yeah, don't have the resource. Yeah. Huh. Shocking, right? The statistics underscore the severity of the situation, with over 302,000 migrants attempting to cross the U.S. southern border between December 1st and December 31st. When I was in Texas, and I've talked about this a handful of times, so just bear with me, right? I talk a lot about a lot of stuff repeatedly because I do cover so many podcasts, and all of these topics have to do with the same thing, right? I was down in Oklahoma City, and I kind of ran the logistics of getting down to the southern border, but it was just too much. I was, trying to spend some time with my parents, and hey, yeah, I see you once a year, but I got to go to that southern border. I just didn't have it in me to do that. But I was kind of thinking, well, maybe the immigration flow will slow down. Maybe that's going to slow down. I'm like, I didn't want to miss my opportunity. And here we are a month later. This was during Thanksgiving. Here we are a month later. You got a record number. I'm like, all right, well, I guess it's not slowing down anytime soon. And so much of this is because folks in other countries around the world have primarily Central America and South America. You got some rolling in from Africa. Yeah. They're making it here. I mean, it's just like, what is going on? Well, it turns out that the United States, despite what a lot of Democrats say, it's a terrible country, it's awful, gonna move to Canada. Now, move there then. Go for it. Because everybody else is still trying to get into the US of A, aren't they? Yeah. What's interesting is the Sugar Bowl. I'm going to rapidly change subjects, but Sugar Bowl, the football players all had, flags on the backs of their helmets, on their jerseys, and the refs were wearing flags. That a couple of years ago would have been wildly out of line, wouldn't it? In 2020, 2021, that would have been just, that would have been like flying the Proud Boys flag. That would have been like flying the, you know what I mean? That would have been just way out of line. But now we're back to that because that whole Bud Light thing didn't turn out, and the whole get woke, go broke thing has kind of gone sideways. So yeah, I find these changes interesting. Oh, we're going back to the flag. Interesting. Colin Kaepernick, he can't he's not playing football anymore. If you followed that, he was the guy that was kneeling, and he went down to a lot of that virtue signaling, all the oppressed and whatnot. Well, that hasn't worked out for him because nobody wants that type of player, that kind of toxic player coming into their club, especially not at the NFL level. Maybe he could play, maybe he couldn't. Who knows, right? So since the beginning of the fiscal year on October 1st, more than 785,000 migrant encounters have been reported. 785,000. Over 750,000. Marking the highest first quarter total on record. The ongoing immigration crisis and the protest-driven transportation of migrants are posing unprecedented challenges for communities unprepared for the influx. The whole country is unprepared for the influx, right? Because that's not how this is supposed to go. It's not that hard to figure out, folks. It's like, so we're just doing this crazy Mickey Mouse drill where send a busload out. I mean, what that has done, and I'm so glad Greg Abbott did that. I mean, it takes a Texan, right? What was the movie? There's only two things in Oklahoma, or people say it about Texas. There's stairs and queers. Well, yeah, people always want to bash on Texas, but not lately. People are moving to Texas in droves, right? In droves. Because you've got better leadership. You've got better economic opportunity. You don't have the craziness that you do in these big blue cities that are literally driving themselves into the ground. One of my podcasts yesterday was there was an outbreak of Shigella in Portland. That is a fecal matter borne illness. So I'll highlight it real quick. People in tents are having man-on-man butthole sex. That's literally, butthole was a health term on one of the health notices from Clackamas County. And so there's a lot of touching and there's a lot of spreading of Shigella in the homeless community with men-on-men sex. And so big outbreak. Yeah. One of the byproducts of, hey, let's just let people live wherever they want. You want to check out that video, but the video is, I thought it was an okay video. I was like questioning whether I was going to do it or not. I don't know. Has it got 25,000 views, something along those lines? But the comments on that video are hilarious. I think there's close to 700 comments now, but you guys went out of your way. I mean, you guys really like to get down on that topic. Hey, looks like Portland's got some issues, really crappy ones, just that after time after time after time. But it's so true. You don't have an outbreak of Shigella happening in any Texas city that I'm aware of. You've only got one real outbreak, and I'd never even really heard. It's a fecal matter, issue. And so you've got people that taking poops in their pants, taking poops on the street, not cleaning themselves up, and then they're preparing food, and food cart got infected. I mean, it's super infectious, right? Poop. Infected poop is what's going on. And then people are having sex while they're infected, and it's man on man. And, it's just all this craziness is going on. You don't have a lot of that in Texas. Weird. So then it's not shocking that, people are moving literally to Texas in droves and to Florida and to Arizona and to Idaho. And they're moving away from California. They're moving away from these communities that can't seem to figure out whether they're coming or going. And, these areas in Illinois overrun. This is what happens when you virtue signal and it goes sideways. At times, you actually have to foot the bill, and they're footing it, and they don't like it. So, not this exit. Move along. Go down to the next, county. All right. Yeah. I've got one bonus topic here. George Soros. And if you've heard this on another podcast, that's fine. George Soros' New York estate got swatted. He got swatted. Poor George. How long can that guy stay alive? Like 95? Billionaire and Democratic mega donor. I know you guys love to hate on George Soros, so that's why we're doing this. Became the latest victim of a criminal prank after his estate in Southampton Village, New York, was swatted over the weekend, adding him to a list of high-profile figures to be the subject of a false police report in the last week. The Southampton Village Police Department received a 911 call just before 9 p.m. on Saturday, New Year's Eve, from a person who claimed he shot his wife and was considering killing himself at Soros' estate. According to the New York Post, the call turned out to be false after officers rushed to the scene. Detective Sergeant Herman Lamison said, and what it ended up being is it was a negative problem. It's literally what they call it. Not a positive problem, not a good one, a negative one. Not. It's kind of like positive, negative math, right? It was negative. No positive. Yeah, right. Glad I'm not a math major, right? That's it for me on this one. Thanks so much for being here. I'll catch up with you in the next one. Bye for now.